Good morning. Thank you all for being here today. We will receive testimony on House Bill 1451 by Representative Mostello. We'll begin by taking the attendance.
Deasy,
Here.
Benham,
On leave?
Brown,
On leave.
Giral. Here. Gogenauer,
On leave.
Guzman,
Leave.
Isaacson,
She's virtual.
Kenyatta,
Leave.
Malagari, McAndrew,
He'll be here in a minute. I just saw him.
Otten,
On leave.
Powell,
Leave.
Salisbury,
Leave.
Schusterman,
Leave.
Fee,
Here.
Armini,
Leave.
Fritz,
Leave.
Gatos,
Gatos is virtual, but maybe leave. I don't know.
leave.
Leave.
Okay. Ledbetter,
Leave.
Major, Mahaffey,
Should be
On
here.
leave. He should be here, though, if he comes in.
Mihalik, she just signed on virtually.
Okay.
Mostello, Rigby, Smith,
He's virtual.
Stare,
Leave. Leave until she comes in, I guess.
Okay. All right, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Some of you might remember the committee discussed this topic of third-party delivery in a previous session. We do have a number of new members since that time, so we thought it was appropriate to continue the conversation and with the changes to the bill to educate the old members as well as the new members on the issue. We look forward to hearing from our stakeholders, regulatory and enforcement agencies regarding HB 1451, which would allow the delivery of wine, beer, and RTDs directly to consumers by third-party delivery. With that, Chairwoman Fee, and remarks?
Thank you, Chairman Deasy. Thank you, Lynn, for setting up, and ditto. Thank you.
Great. We will turn it over to the prime sponsor, Representative Mostello. A few remarks?
Thank you, Chairman Deasy, and thank you so much for bringing this up again. I really appreciate you having a hearing on this. House Bill 1451 is about recognizing where we are today and making sure Pennsylvania law keeps up in a responsible manner. Alcohol delivery is already happening across the Commonwealth. Beer and other malt beverages are being delivered to people's homes every day, often through third-party delivery services that simply did not exist when our liquor code was written more than 70 years ago. This bill acknowledges that reality and makes sure as delivery continues, it happens with clear rules, proper oversight, and common sense safeguards. This is a consumer convenience bill. Pennsylvanians have grown accustomed to ordering everything from groceries to takeout for delivery, and many consumers already expect this option when it comes to alcohol. House Bill 1451 provides clarity so consumers, license holders, and delivery services understand what is permitted and what is required. Just as important, this is a safety bill. This creates a transporter for hire Class D license, which applies to businesses that deliver alcohol on behalf of licensed manufacturers or retailers. This license establishes clear expectations for delivery companies and their employees, including mandatory training in responsible alcohol management. That training focuses on age verification, identifying intoxication, and knowing when a delivery should not be completed. By defining who can deliver alcohol and requiring training for those individuals, we close gaps in the current law and reduce confusion. These safeguards help ensure alcohol is delivered only to legal consumers and in a responsible manner, protecting the public as well as the businesses that are following the rules. There is also the potential for this bill to be a revenue-generating bill, creating a formal license structure that allows the Commonwealth to bring existing delivery activity into a regulated framework, supporting compliance and accountability while encouraging legitimate business growth. This bill does not expand access recklessly, and it does not weaken existing standards. It modernizes the liquor code to reflect how alcohol is already being delivered while reinforcing safety, training, and enforcement. This legislation really is about modernizing our laws with consumer convenience and public safety. And again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I really look forward to hearing from the testifiers to see how we can strengthen this bill and get it passed. Thank you.
Thank you. We will begin with our first panel today from the LCB. We have some folks from the LCB as well as PA State Police and Liquor Control Enforcement. Gotcha. Before we begin, just want to make sure everybody, when you're speaking, have the microphone close enough to you. We had some issues with some folks yesterday hearing online, so just want to make sure that you take advantage of the microphone. So with that, thank you all for being here.
Good morning, Chairman Deasy, Chair Fee, and members of the House Liquor Control Committee. My name is Major Robert Bailey of the Pennsylvania State Police, and I currently serve as the Bureau Director for Liquor Control Enforcement. Alongside me is Captain John Chapman. He's the Operations Director. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today to discuss House Bill 1451. The proposed legislation would, among other things, create a new class of transporter for hire license titled Class D that may accept orders on behalf of licensees and permit holders who are authorized to sell alcohol for off-premises consumption for delivery to unlicensed customers. We appreciate the opportunity to share our thoughts and concerns with you in advance of any action you may decide to take on this measure. While the legislation contains certain procedural safeguards intended to guard against a licensed transporter for hire delivering alcohol to minors, compliance depends on whether delivery personnel used in the service of such licenses follow through and exercise due diligence. The legislation requires all delivery personnel of a licensed transporter undergo server or seller ramp training or a board-approved delivery training program, which essentially includes training on detecting fake identifications. Also, licensed transporters must require proof of age of the recipient and use a transaction scan device to verify the age of the customer prior to delivery of the purchased alcohol. We have found that counterfeit IDs are becoming more difficult to distinguish from legitimate ones. Licensees, after passing an ID through the getting a validation process, often do not attempt to determine if the picture of the individual match the characteristics of the person given to you, including age. While many licensees believe all they need to do is scan an ID, they must rely upon the result in good faith in order to successfully defend against a citation for selling or furnishing alcohol to a minor. Minors know that their chance of obtaining alcohol through online sales and delivery is much higher with a lower risk of getting caught than if they physically walked into a convenience store, bar, distributor, and presented an ID for examination and scanning purposes. Unlike a face-to-face interaction or a transaction within a licensed establishment, where the employee can assess the physical characteristics of the purchaser before making the sale and handing off possession of the alcohol. This assessment can not be made with the online purchase, and the licensee is restricted by information supplied by the purchaser. In particular, with transporter for hire, since the sale has already been completed, they only need to make delivery and move to the next scheduled delivery location, hence having to return the product because of a failed scan or having to make another attempt to obtain an adult signature, resulting in delivery delays and additional costs such as fuel. Even if violations are promptly brought to LC's attention, an enforcement action is taken against a licensee or a transporter for hire licensee, through the citation process, it will likely be several months to a year or so before the matter is adjudicated in a timely manner and a penalty is assessed. Not to mention additional time for appeals. In the meantime, LCE will not have the authority to stop the licensee's ongoing deliveries, even if a pattern of delivering to minors is detected and the licensee is put on notice for violations. We appreciate that the proposed legislation would impose higher fines between $1,000 and $5,000 for violations, and higher fines up to $7,000 for repeat offenses within a 3-year window. Without significant penalties for violations, licensees may view potential penalty as merely a cost for conducting business. While not frequent, we do receive complaints involving the delivery of alcohol to minors, and we do proactively investigate delivery of alcohol, though it is not always possible due to personnel constraints. However, absent a complaint, LC would have no reason to suspect a violation because the carrier's personnel signed on behalf of an adult, indicating that the wine or alcohol was delivered to and accepted by the individual. Undercover investigations are possible, but they take time, and personnel need that time to do a thorough and efficient investigation. Furthermore, the proposed legislation expressly relieves transporter for hire Class D licenses from the requirement that licensed transporters display license information on their delivery vehicles, making it practically impossible to conduct any type of investigation at the time of delivery. So an investigation would have to take place after a delivery occurred, utilizing the transporter's own records and checking the ID scan and the signatures obtained. So in our estimation, no meaningful enforcement would be possible. Prior to January 1st of 2023, LC had been authorized to use minors for compliance checks. A licensed establishments, an enforcement tool that proved invaluable in uncovering sales to minors by licensees and ensure licensees were in compliance with the statutory requirements. However, the statutory provision related to this program expired, and LCE no longer can utilize this enforcement tool, which can be very useful in these types of investigations. Minors trained and under the supervision of LCE officers could be used periodically in an attempt to purchase and receive alcohol using their actual IDs to determine whether or not a licensed transporter is following through on the stated policies and whether they're effective. Using minors to help conduct compliance checks involving delivery of alcohol is an enforcement tool available in 37 other states, which include Delaware, New York, Ohio, and Maryland. We encourage consideration of this enforcement option along with the proposed legislation. On behalf of the Pennsylvania State Police and the Liquor Control Enforcement, we appreciate the opportunity to provide remarks in reference to this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairs Deasy and Fee and members of the committee. I'm Jason Worley, and I serve as Chief Counsel for the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. Joining me here today is Tisha Albert. She is our Director of Regulatory Affairs. We appreciate as well the opportunity to appear today and discuss the commercial transportation of alcohol, as well as HB 1451. Just to provide some context for our conversation today, I think it's important to discuss the current regulatory framework that exists regarding the transportation of alcohol in PA. There are currently 3 different types of transporter for hire licenses that exist in the Commonwealth. There's a transporter for hire Class A license. This allows for the commercial transportation of liquor, malted beverages, or alcohol to or from points in the Commonwealth. There's also a transporter for hire Class B license. This is a beer-only transportation license that allows for transportation to or from points within the Commonwealth. There's also a transporter for hire Class C license, which is effectively a fleet license. That's the type of license that a lot of businesses like FedEx, UPS, DHL would be obtaining to be able to transport alcohol within the state. There are slightly less than 500 total active transporter for hire licenses in PA. It's also worth noting that certain licenses, issued by the PLCB, like beer distributors, wineries, distilleries, those licenses include the inherent ability to transport alcohol as part of their license types. With respect to the identification of vehicles that transport alcohol, any licensee under the liquor code whose license includes the ability to transport alcohol, and that would include any transporter for hire, is required to display on each side of their vehicle their name, address, and license number in letters that are no smaller than 2 inches in height, and the license identification number must be preceded by the letters PLCB in front of that. And that is a requirement that's in place to allow those vehicles to be readily identified and to help with enforcement efforts. Before I get into discussing some of our technical comments on HB 1451, I just want to note that the following observations that we're giving are from a regulatory perspective as you continue to review this legislation, but please don't interpret them as the PLCB's support or endorsement or opposition to this legislation. These are simply offered as neutral comments based on our review. So based on my review, it appears that HB 1451 would essentially take many of the existing requirements for transport for hire licenses that are currently found in PLCB regulations and move them into the liquor code. Beyond that, it appears that the bill would also create a new transporter for hire Class D license category, which is geared towards businesses offering same-day third-party delivery services. While this legislation certainly may have merit and could be beneficial in concept, I think there are nonetheless several aspects of this that would benefit and require further clarification moving forward. Those are as follows. First, as drafted, HB 1451 indicates that a transporter for hire Class D license would be permitted to accept payment for alcohol, while simultaneously indicating that the sale of alcohol may only be made by the licensee or permittee who is authorized to sell alcohol for off-premise consumption. This language, as it's written, is actually internally conflicting, and that's because, by definition, accepting payment for alcohol would constitute the sale of alcohol. So as written, it would actually put transporter for hire Class D licenses in the position of being in violation of the statute. The legislation may benefit from some different or additional language regarding who holds title to the alcohol being sold, who's authorized to set the prices on the alcohol being sold, and what fees the transporter for hire is permitted to charge as part of each transaction. Second, as drafted, the bill requires transporter for hire Class D licensees to scan the identification of the recipient of an alcohol delivery, but it otherwise seems to excuse sellers or anyone involved in a transaction from verifying the ID of the actual purchaser. As such, there appears to be somewhat of a disconnect in the legislation between ensuring that both the purchaser of the alcohol and the recipient of the alcohol, which can be two different people, are at least 21 years of age. Third, as drafted, the bill would excuse transporter for hire Class D licensees from following certain requirements, such as the vehicle lettering requirements that I previously mentioned, which are otherwise applicable to all licensees who deliver alcohol in Pennsylvania. It's unclear based on the legislation why this new license category is being excused from those requirements. Fourth, as drafted, the bill would impose certain ramp training requirements on transporter for hires that are likely to have a significant impact on many businesses beyond the transporter for hire Class D license category that's being created here. For example, as I mentioned earlier, there are numerous major parcel carrier companies that operate in PA under the authority of a Class C transporter for hire license that deliver to non-licensees, and they would likely be significantly impacted by this legislation as well. Lastly, to the extent that HB 1451 is intended to allow transporter for hire Class D licensees to essentially stand in the shoes of and exercise some of the same privileges as businesses licensed to sell alcohol for off-premise consumption, the license fees, which include a $5,000 initial surcharge and a $1,000 renewal fee, are likely too low relative to what other businesses have been required to pay to get those same rights in PA. So from a fairness and equality standpoint, this may warrant some further consideration as well. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this background and discuss HB 1451 today. We look forward to answering any questions that the committee may have.
Okay, thank you all for your testimony. I appreciate the time that you put into the bill. Before we do open it up for questions, I do have a comment. I appreciate Major Bailey bringing up the age compliance program. I mean, that was certainly been a priority of this committee the last two sessions. We passed that in committee unanimously, I believe. Representative Smith's bill. So we need to continue to work on that. It's an important tool for you folks to be able to do your job. So we have to work on that as well. Very important bill. So with that said, questions? Rep. Mostella.
I have a question, and I don't know if you can answer this, either party. Just in the past 2 years, how many active cases do you have of underage purchases made within liquor stores within the Commonwealth? How many citations have you made? How many active cases do you still have for that? I'm just curious, just to compare, just maybe the past couple years.
So I don't have the data available.
You, what's that?
I don't have the data available, but I could get that to you.
I'd appreciate it.
Yes.
I just want to
Yes.
see how many times you've cited within, the liquor stores for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Rep. Giral.
Thank you, Chairman, and I want to thank the panel for their testimony. I have a simple question. Who will be charged with administrative action under this bill for the violation?
So in this situation right here, if this legislation passed as it's written right now, so essentially the driver, the operator of that vehicle, he or she would be ramp trained, similar to servers and bartenders. So they have the ability to scan devices and determine whether or not it's valid or not. If they are not doing it properly, they'll be held liable, the actual operator, the driver of the third party.
Thank you.
If I can just add to that, I think one thing that maybe warrants some further clarification is whether or not the actual seller of the alcohol maintains any level of administrative liability. I know the bill addresses criminal and civil liability, but it doesn't necessarily touch on administrative liability from an enforcement perspective. So just wanted to offer that thought as well.
Thank you. Rep. Meligari.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone who testified. There was a hearing on this bill earlier, the last time we did this, and at that time there was no third-party carrier occurring, like that activity wasn't occurring. So what changed, and why is this now being permitted to deliver beer to consumers?
I think one point of clarification is that for many years, those Transport for Hire Class C licenses have been offering a third-party delivery. It's not necessarily a same-day delivery service, but for any completed sale of alcohol, they've always had the ability to deliver that product from point A to point B for a fee. I think what's changed recently, or in more recent years, is that some of the technology changes, some of the new businesses that have come into the market, they have a slightly different business model where they are offering products on the front end, and the lines between selling and transporting kind of morph together. So I think that's what has changed here in more recent years.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Chair Fee.
As I listen to everything, I look at it and go, how many other states do it? Do we know?
37.
37. So I'm sure you can figure out, everything you have on here, I'm sure can be figured out to make it work. I, as a mom and a Grammy, I'm most concerned about the safety of it, like our officers are. And I know other states do it, and we can get the data on, how many times things are cited, but, I think it's a work in progress, and it sounds like it's moving forward. But none of these seem like hurdles that can't be worked out. It's just the safety aspect for me. Thank you.
Thank you. No further questions. We appreciate you being here. And again, we were going to do everything we can to make sure that age compliance is part of anything moving forward. It's really important. I think we need to bring those two issues together. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. As we bring up the next panel too, the Adult Beverage Alliance as well as DoorDash, I want to note that we are joined virtually by Rep. Isaacson, Otten, and since we began, Rep. Mahaffey and McAndrew have joined us. I'm sorry, Representative Gatos is joining us virtually as well. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Just want to make sure this is on. Yep. Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I really appreciate this issue being discussed again. I was here at the prior hearing, and I'm really happy to have the opportunity to further discuss this issue. My name is Alex Mooney. I'm here on behalf of DoorDash. As many of you know, we're a technology company that facilitates delivery of a variety of items in Pennsylvania and all 50 states. And we've heard from our consumers that one of the items that's missing that they would love to also be able to, that we'd also like to be able to facilitate delivery from is alcohol. So again, appreciate the committee's work in discussing this issue and figuring out how we can make it work safely. I know there were some issues raised earlier about kind of safety and age verification. So I think I'm here today to just tell you how we are working and operating in the 37 other states, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. So starting with safety, which is really paramount to DoorDash, we take the delivery of alcoholic beverages seriously, obviously, and are very committed to safe and legal delivery of these products. First, it's important to note that we don't allow any of our drivers, who we refer to as dashers, to be under 21 if there's alcohol being delivered. And we are also committed to educating every dasher before they're eligible to make an alcohol delivery on the local laws, how to scan an ID, how to check for signs of intoxication, and any other issues that might arise on a delivery. So all of that training, which is a requirement within this bill that we support, has to occur before a driver goes on their first alcohol delivery. In terms of age verification at the door, this is something that DoorDash has invested significantly in over the last several years. We use state-of-the-art technology to verify the age and identification. Within every dasher has an app on their phone to complete a delivery, and within that app is the technology is built right into that app to scan the ID at the door before they can hand over the alcohol. And that technology is run by a third-party age verification vendor that checks a number of fraud databases. It's as robust or even more robust than many in-store scanners. It is able to detect a number of fraudulent IDs, and it goes through a number of auditing compliance checks and is pretty much demonstrated to be able to detect any frauds that are on the market right now. So we're very happy with that technology. And then once again, the dasher cannot hand over the alcohol until the ID has been scanned and indicated to be authentic. If the ID does not scan or is not authentic, the dasher is instructed to return the alcohol to the store where it originated from and is compensated for doing that. So there's no incentive on the driver's part to not do that or go to the next delivery. In fact, technologically, they can't go to the next delivery until they close out this delivery by either verifying the ID is valid or returning it to the store if it's not. Also want to mention that we also support reasonable safeguards to prevent overconsumption. So this is a concern that comes up. But within our training for dashers, we make sure that they know how to check for signs of over intoxication, overconsumption, and make sure that they have ways of contacting us if they feel like the recipient appears to be overly intoxicated and the dasher feels uncomfortable delivering the alcohol. And we also have technological checks on our end to make sure and monitor over-ordering from consumers or any kind of signs that might indicate a consumer is abusing alcohol in any way. So that's the safety piece of it, and I'm happy to answer any more questions on that. But I also wanted to touch briefly on the economic benefits. So as discussed, we're in like 37 other states. And in those states, merchants who are able to deliver alcohol are seeing huge benefits from doing so. It's actually opens up an amazing revenue stream for merchants, particularly small and medium-sized merchants who might not have an online presence or a way to kind of expand beyond their very local radius. So independent liquor stores on our platform have grown, have seen their revenue growth by 40% in the first year that they sign up, and this data is from last year. And overall, independent liquor stores have grown by 55% on the DoorDash platform. So it's become an amazing kind of revenue lever for small and medium-sized merchants in particular, particularly in this age when more consumers are expecting to have everything delivered. And then finally, I just want to mention our commitment to the three-tier system. So we are a partner of the retail tier. We deliver from retailers only, and that's what this bill contemplates. So we are not, excuse me, we are not going to deliver from warehouses or any other member of any higher tier. We are simply partnering with the retail tier. So I want to make that clear. I know that can get a little bit confusing. So with that, happy to answer any additional questions about our practices or details of this bill. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Deasy, Chair Fee, and members of the committee for the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Tom Kerr. I'm the General Counsel of the Adult Beverage Alliance, which is a trade association comprised of the leading third-party delivery companies. We submitted written testimony for today's hearing. I won't recite that again today, but I did want to hit on some key points from our written testimony and addressing some of the earlier comments and some of the issues that came up in the last hearing on the prior duration of this bill. First of all, third-party alcohol delivery is not new. As you've heard this number already today, it is currently available in more than 30 states. It is working in those states. So this bill provides the benefit of years of experience in working on similar legislation and gives Pennsylvania businesses the opportunity to benefit from a mature industry that is now operating in, again, more than 30 states. Second of all, three-tier compliance. As Alex mentioned, third-party alcohol delivery under this bill is entirely three-tier compliant. It does not disrupt longstanding three-tier principles, and to the contrary, it actually supports the existing three-tier system. It doesn't open the door to circumventing the three-tier system in any way. This applies only to intrastate deliveries from licensed Pennsylvania retailers to consumers. Third, you've heard a lot about driver training. This bill addresses driver training and requires specialized delivery driver training as a new type of training specific to the delivery of alcohol to consumers. Safety, obviously Alex just touched on these main points, but just to be very clear, there's no opportunity for any alcohol ever to be left at a consumer's door. This requires a face-to-face transaction every time alcoholic beverages are handed over to an adult, including an age verification ID scan. And again, that technology, as it relates to Adult Beverage Alliance members, is often better than the scanners that you've heard about in stores. It requires a signature. It requires a physical check of the person against the identification and a physical check for signs of obvious intoxication or for any other reason that the driver sees fit to return alcohol to the retailer's premises. Lastly, the bill includes provisions related to accountability and enforcement. It holds third-party deliveries accountable for deliveries and includes an enforcement scheme to ensure the PLCB has jurisdiction on an ongoing basis over third-party delivery companies. Next, I really just wanted to walk through, sort of to quell some of the concerns over the bill and of any unintended consequences with allowing third-party delivery. I wanted to walk through what delivery process and the flow of product looks like under this bill, just sort of from top to bottom over a couple minutes, just to walk through an example. So take the example of a six-pack of beer that eventually is going to be delivered to an adult over the age of 21 in Pennsylvania. That six-pack of beer, let's assume it's a beer that's produced outside the state of Pennsylvania. That's going to be brought into Pennsylvania through this same three-tier system that exists today. This bill doesn't touch that part of the liquor code, so that's going to be brought in by a Pennsylvania licensed importing distributor. It may then go through a neighborhood distributor and then will be sold to a retailer. Let's say it's a grocery store with a restaurant-type license. That grocery store takes that six-pack of beer they've purchased. It goes into inventory just like every other six-pack of beer in the store that they would sell off of their regular shelves on a brick-and-mortar purchase. Then if that grocery store wants to use the services of a transporter for hire Class D third-party delivery platform, they would enter into a written contract. Written contract is required under the bill with the third party. At that time, that contract will include such provisions that the retailer maintains control over all aspects for which that retail license is required. For example, inventory, the retailer chooses what products go on the platform, the pricing for all the products. They have the ability to accept or reject every alcohol order, and all alcohol sales proceeds flow to the licensed retailer. Consumer then finds that six-pack of beer on the third-party platform. They select the retailer. They submit an order for that six-pack of beer. The retailer then again has the opportunity to accept that order. Payment is processed, and that order is pushed by the third-party platform only to drivers that have received the delivery driver-specific training. That driver then has the benefit of that third-party platform's app throughout the rest of the process. It walks them through the process, and they've already received training. They pick up that order, which is going to include the six-pack of beer, probably along with their groceries, take it to the address, and at that point they have to conduct they've already been trained and they're required, and they have the app in their hand to walk them through the age scan, the signature, the visual inspection, and at that point the beer results in the hands of that 21 plus aged consumer. And of course, if there's a reason to return that beer, it goes back to the licensed premises, and after all is said and done, there's the enforcement mechanisms in place in the unlikely event there are any issues along the way. Thank you. I'm available for any questions. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, and I appreciate you describing the process. I do have a question with regard to the scanners, and recently I went to the Alcohol Safety Conference, and they talked about the updated technology and the apps that are out there with regard to identifying these fake IDs and such. Is the data that you guys receive, do you store that for record retention from those devices? Is there a way to?
I'm going to hand that one off. That's not in my...
Yeah, so again, it's what we partner with a third party, and we can get you the details of more about which third party, but that third party is the one that stores kind of the database check that was run. We maintain a record of the recipient and kind of other transaction details, if that's the data you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
just want to
we
make
do
sure that
store
you
that.
guys are supportive of anything that we would work on the bill to make sure that we include the safety factors involved. So that's important to us. So with that said, we'll go to questions. Rep. Rigby is first.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, testifiers. Alex, you had mentioned the Dashers have to be 21 years of age to deliver, and really this is more maybe of a statement to the maker of the bill. The bill's age 21 is listed 3 times, but that's always for the recipient, and possibly include into this bill that the delivery driver must be of 21 years of age. Under law, under 21, they're not permitted to transport. And I think it just might bring some clarity to this bill as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rep. Malagari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate your testimony. Thank you for being here. I have a couple questions. So, with regard to how a delivery would occur, and the bill states that alcohol cannot be left at a doorstep. So, within the alliance, there's several operators. How would that be able to work with some of the operators as far as not being able to leave a product at the doorstep? I think of not to call it a name, but when I order something from Amazon, driver leaves it on my porch, takes a picture, bounces out. How would this work with regard to some of these other operators not leaving it at a doorstep? Is there a signature required, age verification? Can you walk us through that process?
Sure. From the DoorDash perspective, alcohol has a different set. An alcohol delivery has a different set of requirements than food or any other product. So, whereas a dasher is permitted to leave, obviously, food at the doorstep, and in fact, most customers prefer that. With alcohol, that's not a choice. So, the delivery cannot actually be completed without a face-to-face interaction where the recipient hands over the ID, the dasher scans the ID, as I discussed. The dasher has to do a visual check to make sure the ID is matching the recipient, and only then can the alcohol be handed over. So if those steps don't occur, the dasher is actually technologically prohibited from completing, saying that the order is complete and going on to the next assignment. So that's how it works from our end. It's a different kind of, when alcohol is in the order, it just triggers a different set of protocols.
Follow up on that. So what happens if the alcoholic product fails to be delivered then? Say they're unable to make that delivery. Are the licensees reimbursed, and is that product then put back onto the shelf?
Yes. So what happens is the dasher will then be guided to return the alcohol to the store, and the merchant receives the inventory back. It will then, I'm not exactly sure how the merchant will handle it on their end, but assuming it hasn't been tampered with, which there's no reason to suspect it would have been, it'll be restocked. And if there's an issue with the product itself, there'll be a reimbursement.
Thank you for that. My last question, if you don't mind, Chairman. So we were talking about the inclusion of language for age compliance programs to be, included. Would you be supportive of that to ensure that our third-party delivery can be adequately enforced?
Just which age compliance for?
So there's a program that we were trying to reinstate, which our committee voted unanimously on the last time we voted it, to reinstate the age compliance program, which would allow for, I believe, minors to act as a consumer to purchase and then make sure that they can test whether or not the enforcement is being done properly.
Okay. That's not something we have a position on, but we don't oppose it if that's the view of the committee from an enforcement perspective.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Giroux?
Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank the committee the panel for the testimony. My question is, does your platform have the ability to restrict certain locations such as colleges, campuses?
We do, and we do that in a number of states.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Mostello?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You said that you deliver in 37 states, and as you know, in Pennsylvania, we do not have independent liquor stores here. Just curious how that works in other states similar to Pennsylvania. Who takes the call? Who does because we're talking a lot about age verification. Obviously, safety is paramount in this bill. How do you do that in other states? I'm just curious. And is it the same with liquor sales as it is with beer sales and malt beverages? Just curious.
It is the same. So whether a store is only selling beer or wine, or whether it's a liquor store, they will receive the order through we are able to integrate with most stores' point-of-sale systems, and they'll receive the order through the point of sale. It'll be indicated as a DoorDash order, and then the store will then stock the order and then prepare it to be picked up. The protocol's essentially the same, whether it's a liquor store or it's a store that sells just beer and wine. So that's generally how it works.
I can jump in on that just a little bit. Also, there are, every state has some version of the three-tier system. There are other states that are control states similar to Pennsylvania that have similar, Virginia, Oregon, North Carolina come to mind, where their spirits are sold via state stores. So the retail tier is in those states similarly, typically beer and wine, but it's all kind of very specific to the state as far as licensing. But fundamentally the process is the same. I believe some Alliance members may actually, in some states, have arrangements with the actual state for delivery from those, via those control state stores, for example, but the process is similar.
Yeah, I can add to that DoorDash actually does deliver for the Virginia ABC. So in some instances, state-controlled stores do contract with delivery platforms like ours.
Do you I'm so sorry, Chairman. Do you interact with those liquor stores to see if the person purchasing is on like a do not sell list or something? Is there some sort of safeguard that they have that you double check, kind of like what the chairman had mentioned?
We have account representatives who are constantly interacting with liquor stores, and if there's an issue with a particular customer, that information can easily get passed to us, and we can make sure we are able to put any stop on our end. So those channels are definitely open for communication, for sure.
Thank you. Chair Fee?
Just to follow up on that, just so I understand, are the states that are controlled like ours, with this piece of legislation, are you doing anything more stringent in any of those states than what's being offered in this piece of legislation? Like, is there any other checks, or, are you doing anything else in any other state that we wouldn't say needs done here?
Tom can weigh in, but no, I think we helped put input into this bill to make it as stringent as kind of the most stringent states that we operate in, because understanding that this is a control state with some special considerations. So I can't think of another state where we're doing more than what this bill would require from an age verification standpoint, from a training standpoint, from enforcement oversight. But Tom, please weigh in.
I agree with that. Every state is different as far as, of course, the language of the bill and sort of the specifics of each state, but this captures all of the relevant considerations, and everything is in line with what we see in other states.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one question with regarding to the licensure of the establishment. Like, what liability is there, or is there just fines on their behalf with regards to the delivery system?
So under the current bill, the third-party delivery company, Transporter for Hire, there are fines, escalating fines for violations on their end. And beyond that, PLCB has discretion under various parts of the liquor code to sort of seek other types of enforcement, or of course to revoke licenses or not to issue licenses in the first instance.
Gotcha. Any other further questions? Seeing none, thank you. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate the time and the conversations you've had on the bill throughout the process as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You mentioned Pennsylvania. Sometimes we're not first, but we watch what others are doing, and we see what we can do to strengthen the bill and make it a better bill. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
Next, we have panel 3, the Malt Beverage Distributors Association.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Deasy, Chairwoman Fee, and members of the committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity today to testify and your willingness to hear our perspective, as well as everything you do for the Commonwealth. I'm here today on behalf of the Malt Beverage Distributors Association. Well, that's actually our former name. We recently changed to Retail Association. To give you a little bit of my background, I think is important in terms of this bill. My family has been operating Brentwood Distributing since 1956, and primarily we are a tavern servicing distributor in the Pittsburgh region. However, in 2019, due to a combination of research and knowing where consumer trends were headed, as well as we did have a 20% loss of business that came from Act 166 when it came to territorial laws. We launched beverages2u.com. Our ability, our license, has always been to deliver homes. In fact, in the 50s and 60s, and when my grandfather was running the business, we actually did that. So I guess I'm not reinventing the wheel. It's already existed. These are concepts that aren't the future, they're actually the present. And you have a tier that is already doing this. And also we are adhering to every compliance and every regulation. Our concern with House Bill 1451 is not modernization. We also want to be forward-thinking. It is just making sure that the playing field is even. We have three major concerns with the bill. As it stands, non-resident tech companies and other retailers, including large national big box chains, can deliver a combination of beer, wine, and spirit-based cocktails, RTDs, such as High Noons and Surfsides, while placing distributors at a major competitive disadvantage and holding them to stricter home delivery regulations. We are currently not allowed to deliver RTDs to homes, but this bill would allow third party to deliver to homes. The bill shifts delivery authority to less regulated third parties and creates uneven standards. For beer distributors to deliver to homes, we have made significant investments in compliance, age verification, employee training, warehousing, and logistics. By law, we are required to use our own fleet, and previously somebody spoke of this, lettered vehicles. Our employees have to be ramp certified. Our insurance, our liability, our workers' comp, everything falls on us. The major concern is accountability. We were pleased to see that the bill provides a selling licensee shall not be criminally or civilly liable for sales or service of alcohol to a minor. But we also want to make sure that this includes any liquor code enforcement violations. It's kind of it's not very clear in the bill, so we would just like to make sure that that is all spelled out and we are not the ones responsible, since we do not have any say in who they hire or their actions once that package leaves the warehouse or distributor. Our second concern deals with fairness and parity in the industry. I had briefly touched base about RTDs and spoke previously on that. As the law currently stands, licensed beer distributors are not permitted to deliver RTDs to consumer homes. This restriction has been a major point of contention for distributors who have been compliant and have invested in every requirement imposed on home delivery. Yet under the proposed House bill, third-party transporter for hire Class D license holders would be permitted to deliver RTDs to consumers. It just creates a very uneven playing field. The RTD market is one of the fastest growing markets, especially when it comes to e-commerce. And we need this to be even. The one thing I want to point out here is currently DoorDash is delivering RTDs to homes, even though it is technically not legal. We have reached out as an association, and they have still continued to put RTDs for sale on their website. So I think the major point to that is an accountability standpoint. And how are we going to police the actions of third party when Home D distributors we are very regulated and we have to be compliant. We have visits from liquor code, state police. So I think there's a little bit of a disparity there. Also, in HB 1451 in Section 5, lines 8 through 9, it states that it would allow companies to transport and deliver alcoholic beverages in PA without even having to obtain any license as long as there's no delivery fee. We all like shopping on Amazon, and the last time I checked, my Amazon Prime was free. So it's just an extremely concerning loophole, and we are urging you to eliminate this language in its entirety. The other concern is making sure that there is proper training for the third party to deliver to homes. Our employees have to go through ramp training. We have to use our own fleet of vehicles, our own employees, not independent contractors, carry commercial driver's insurance. We use the same technology as DoorDash at Beverages to You for ID scanning, so it scans the barcode, gives the age verification. It is stored in the cloud, so you're able to access that as well as the signature anytime anybody needs that information. And our third and final concern deals with the preservation of the long-standing 192-ounce rule in the Commonwealth. While previous third-party delivery bills introduced over the years contained a reference to the 192-ounce limit for retail licensees, HB 1451 is silent on the issue. This is a glaring omission. We ask that the bill be amended to include a reference to the 192-ounce rule and make it clear that this limit applies per retailer. So just to clarify that, grocery, convenience, 192 ounces for the R license is their limit. I think it's very important to somehow regulate this, that a third-party D license can only deliver 192 ounces. And the question is, how do you regulate that? You can have 4 people in one address order each time on their app, and it's one location. So just some food for thought there. With technology, it's an ever-changing world. I mean, I'm dealing with it every day at Beverages to You. But again, we are not opposed to the bill. I think it's about making sure that it's regulated in the correct way and there's parity for everybody. So we respectfully ask the General Assembly to restore parity, accountability, and fairness so that the Pennsylvania beer distributors who have already invested and currently operate compliant home delivery are not legislated out of a future we help to build and are actively providing today. Any questions?
Yep, thank you. Appreciate you being here, and again, we're here to listen. That's the goal. This is obviously a very complicated issue, so we're here to hear from all sides and see what we can do, working together to come up with as best as we can on this legislation. You had mentioned, liability with the small business and stuff like that. With regard to the Dram Shop liability insurance, you guys have that, right?
Yes.
So with regard to the third-party operators, I guess we're unsure whether they do, how that works out.
Yes, I think that's a little bit of a gray area.
Okay.
And I feel like as retailers, I feel like I should actually know the answer to this question. Anybody who works with DoorDash, we had to sign a contract. So it has to be written in there. Maybe their legal counsel could probably answer that question better than I could.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to follow up with him on that one. Any questions? Rep. Mostello.
I'm sorry, thank you so much. Where did you, when you had mentioned about free delivery, where was that
Yes.
specifically? I'm so sorry.
Section 5, lines 8 through 9. It stated that there could possibly be no license required if you offered free delivery. I can't remember if it was in our written testimony, it actually copied verbatim. I want to say it's definitely section 5, 8 through 9, or page 5. I don't have a copy of the proposed bill in front of me. I apologize.
You have it? We're working on finding that
Yeah.
out. You got another question, Ms. Stone?
No, I
We'll come
just-
back to you with that. once we-
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
I just wanted to know about that, as we're looking for that, that's kind of the free delivery you're saying. If I buy a sweater and I get a six-pack with it from Amazon, that's all going to be free delivery.
Right, the way it was stated in the bill, no license was required if it offered free delivery, if you offered free delivery. Unless we interpreted it wrong, which I don't believe we did. Carson, do you happen to have? I'm trying to find further. Okay. I think try page 5.
Page
Thank
6.
you. Lines 8 and 9.
If there is no charge associated. It states if there's no charge associated with the transportation of the alcohol, that's under,
Then no
except
license
as
is required.
provided
right?
for, that they would not need to acquire a transporter for hire license.
Which means that skirts everything.
Gotcha. Thank you. Rep. McAndrew?
Good morning.
Good morning.
In your testimony, you mentioned that, as currently written, that retail licenses are eligible to hold transport for hire Class D licenses, and that it should be amended to provide that the third-party delivery company should not have ownership stake in the retailer they are delivering for. Can you repeat why this is important?
So I actually, this is more of a Charlie question. Our attorney for MBDA, that was part of what he wrote in the testimony. And I do not feel so well versed on that, and he could not be here today, so
That's fine. I can
Just-
follow up with him.
thank you.
Anything further? No, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. As we're talking, kind of the theme today is the age verification. What do you do now that you are delivering to homes? What sort of safeguards do you all have in place that you've come up, other than ramp training, obviously, that you had mentioned? Do you have other systems in place?
We do. Our technology is the same as DoorDash's technology. It is a third-party app. It actually scans the barcode before you can hand the alcohol over. It will green check mark person's name. Otherwise, it goes to a failed delivery. Our office is automatically notified, and my drivers check the product back in. And I think there's a second part to what I just said is, since we do allow DoorDash to pick up orders at my location, the times that their orders have failed on DoorDash's side, we 50% of the time have not gotten that alcohol back. And that just hasn't happened with my location. It's happened with other beer distributors as well. So when it's your own delivery and your own employees, you're able to check that beer back in. When we are allowing third party to pick up, they're supposed to bring it back, but we don't have any way of making sure that happens. Right now, I have anybody in my office instructed to call the customer service line, which, as you can imagine, it's a big company. So you're talking to a customer representative from DoorDash. But it is a concern. We're not getting the alcohol back all the time from third-party delivery.
And do you have age compliance for your delivery drivers currently?
We do.
What is it?
So we have to be ramp certified, and then the technology the same as DoorDash. And I'm sorry.
And they have to, how old do they have to be to?
21.
It is 21.
21 to deliver to homes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you. Chair Fee, a question?
On that comment, what's the percentage of failed deliveries?
From DoorDash?
Well, or you, both.
Two totally different, and I'm sure there's things that play into that. We very rarely have a failed delivery. Beverages to you, we build relationships, it seems like. So our retention rate is about 60% repeat customers. DoorDash, I would say 25 to 30%. I know the day before I left for Harrisburg, maybe we only had 4 DoorDash orders and 2 of them were canceled. So, which would mean failed. And we had to call and get the products back. So, like I said, it doesn't always come back.
I think we're good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much for your
testimony.
time.
Next, we have panel 4, Pennsylvania Food Merchants Association. Good morning. Thank you for being
Good
here.
morning. Is this on? You hear me okay? Good morning, chairs, members of the committee, and staff as well. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Mike Howells. I'm here on behalf of the Pennsylvania Food Merchants Association, which has advocated for the food and beverage industry across the Commonwealth since 1952. Today, we represent almost 500 member companies from across the globe that operate thousands of retail food stores, production facilities, and distribution centers, and collectively employ more than 350,000 Pennsylvanians. I stand before you at lunch, so I will be brief. Our retail members serve as the face of Pennsylvania's modernized adult beverage market. With the successful implementation of wine expanded permits and the recent addition of ready-to-drink cocktail permits, food retailers continue to prove they are reliable partners with the Commonwealth, selling alcohol responsibly and conveniently. As we've discussed, House Bill 1451 would amend the liquor code to create a new type of liquor transportation license that would enable third parties to deliver wine, beer, and ready-to-drink cocktails to consumers on behalf of licensed Pennsylvania retailers. The previous panels, I think, did a good job going over the technical details of this concept. So I just want to briefly talk a little bit more broadly. To understand our sector's support for this legislation, it's important to recognize 2 critical factors. And the first is that food retail operates on margins between 1% and 3%. And in other words, that means for every dollar of revenue earned by your local grocer, they generally get to keep between 1 and 3 cents as profit after expenses and taxes. That means every opportunity to bolster those revenues, such as this one, must be thoughtfully and thoroughly considered. Second, retailers must cater to evolving customer preferences or risk losing those customers. And indeed, as customer preference and expectation shifts further towards home delivery, Pennsylvania retailers are pivoting to meet this demand, and so too must Pennsylvania's regulatory framework evolve. This bill is not merely a convenience measure, it's a necessary infrastructure update for Pennsylvania's retail economy that embraces modern digital realities while upholding the strictest standards of public safety. By enabling local businesses to reach consumers through delivery apps, we ensure that dollars stay in Pennsylvania communities and empower local merchants to offer a full basket, the dinner and drink experience that consumers nationwide are coming to view as a standard expectation. Indeed, this bill aligns Pennsylvania with more than 30 other states that have successfully implemented similar models and incorporates best practices from those jurisdictions, and really represents a win for consumers and local businesses. And we've talked about the liability protection to the licensee selling the alcohol that's in place. If a delivery driver illegally delivers alcohol, for example, to a minor or intoxicated person without the seller's knowledge, the seller is shielded from administrative citation provided they process the order correctly. To that point, there are also strict training standards in place. Drivers must undergo training that covers age verification and how to identify visibly intoxicated persons. Under this bill, the responsibility for verifying the consumer's age and sobriety falls strictly on the licensee at the customer's doorstep. And by codifying the penalties for transporters for hire who fail to verify age, House Bill 1451 ensures that the delivery ecosystem remains secure and that third-party delivery services are held to the same high standards as our brick-and-mortar stores. As I mentioned, Pennsylvania's food retailers operate on thin margins and rely on volume and efficiency. And as the demand for grocery delivery continues to grow, the ability to seamlessly include these products with a grocery order is a significant value add for businesses and their customers. So in sum, House Bill 1451, in our view, is a pro-business and pro-consumer measure that updates the state liquor code to reflect the reality of modern commerce. It allows retailers to operate more efficiently and delivery drivers to do their jobs more quickly while maintaining the robust age verification standards we all expect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here. Again, we've talked about safety, and it's been our key issue. So would you be supportive if we push the age compliance program to be part of this?
Yeah, I think that's something we'd have to discuss with our members before we could come back to you with a position on that.
But we want to continue those
For sure.
conversations. And,
Yeah, and
as-
I think
yeah.
that if there's been a common theme today, it's that nothing appears to be insurmountable.
Yeah.
And that these discussions are going to continue.
And I will say, as we continue, before we go into questions, it's been fantastic, the number of stakeholders who have had conversations, sat down together, and tried to iron out the details. So, again, it's been a long process, but we've had some great conversation. I appreciate everybody continuing to have those conversations as we move forward. Questions?
I just have one question is,
Sure.
for Pennsylvania, do you have any, I mean, I know you can't see into the future and what this bill's going to actually look like in the end, but what sort of increases revenue-wise would this generate for members?
Yeah, Representative, it's hard to say, but I think definitely, as I mentioned, when margins are as thin as they are for your local grocer, it's anything that can help, I think, is going to be strongly considered. So I think it would only help.
Thank you. Steve, you have some?
Thank you, Chairman. There's two things I want to ask. One goes back to the 192 ounce limit by retail licensees. So that was in MBDA's testimony. They mentioned that. How will you ensure that this provision is enforced when partnering with a delivery service? So, in other words, what would prevent an individual from purchasing multiple six-packs for that same address as was discussed earlier? And then what safety measures would you put in place, or what should retailers put in place as a safety measure?
I think that's something that we would need to be, we need to work out and discuss how that would look. But I think, our members who do it now for in-person purchases, they're already capable of doing it, and I think it would simply be a matter of adapting that to the new framework.
Okay, appreciate that. And then also, as retailers, would you support a policy that would not incentivize alcohol delivery over food by not charging a delivery fee?
Again, I think that's something we'd have to circle back with you on for a position on how we'd be with that.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything further from members? Comments from the sponsor of the bill? Nothing? Chair? Seeing nothing further, thank you all for being here. Again, thank you for all the time that has been put into this bill, and we continue to look forward to working together to modify things. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.